Welcome to Teen Up, a podcast that digs deeper into the thoughts of teenagers' mind about the wonders of the world.
If you're new here, I'm your host, Isabella.
And I'm Glenn. If you're not, welcome back.
Here is a quick disclaimer. We are two teenagers that are doing our best to research everything. However, we are not experts, so if we offend anyone or say something wrong, we want to apologize in advance. Please email us to tell us what was wrong. Thank you.
This month, we're going to talk about 4 different albums and the meaning behind each of them. We're going to explore their details, including lyrics and musical features. So the reason that we're talking about different albums is because I personally think that listening to albums is the way that these musics are supposed to be heard. These artists create an album intentionally with specific orders, and I think they have a meaning behind every album, like a story or, what the artist is trying to say.
Right. Like, I personally don't actually listen to music in albums. Like, I usually just listen to each song separately. But I think that when I only listen to one song of maybe only a few songs out of one album, I would be missing a lot of the details. And it's like I'm not actually listening to the whole story. I'm just picking up parts of the story that I would like to hear. So yeah, maybe listening to the whole album, I think, would be a better way to understand the artist. And if you really like that artist, it would be best to listen to the whole album.
Yeah, I would say if you're watching a movie, you don't watch it in 20 minutes chunks.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just stop watching it after 30 minutes and then say, yeah, I'm going to come back to this, tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know somebody do that, but please don't.
I know people do that.
It's not supposed to be like that.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, our first album this month is Montero. Montero is the debut studio album by the American rapper and singer Lil Nas X, released on September 17th, 2021. The album, titled after his given name, was first announced in 2019. Its title, cover artwork, and track list were unveiled in 2021. So this is actually the first album that I've ever listened to as a whole.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
A very late discovery to albums. I don't know why. I just never actually listened to music as how the artist wants to depict it, because I often hear music off of radio where they only show the top hits or, off of United States top 50 song lists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I listen to music.
Yeah, but I feel like you're just listening to popular music.
That is true. I know. My favorite genre is pop music. So, yeah. Anyways, my first time listening to this album was Montero, of course, because that was the first song that came out. And at first, I didn't actually listen to I wasn't listening closely to the lyrics or anything. I just basically really loved the melody and how Lil Nas X kind of sang this whole song. Because from what I remember, because this album is when Lil Nas X kind of portrayed himself and told the whole world that he is a gay man, right?
I think he came out way before that, but I think this song is about his sexuality, right?
Right. And this type of appearance was not how I remembered him as, and it really kind of took me by surprise. So this song kind of took me by surprise when I realized that it was him who sang the song. And I even looked at the MV, the music video, and I was, really surprised and really also amazed by how he portrayed himself within this music video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when this came out back a while ago, it was like controversial in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how he uses Satan as an image.
Right.
But again, I think I have to say, it's a genius way of marketing to start talking about things.
Exactly.
Because, they say that no news is bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, if people are talking about it, then it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I think maybe to a certain degree, this is just their marketing tactics, but also it's kind of refreshing. So,
Mm-hmm.
definitely a good thing.
I know, I would say too. And his appearance really changed, like Old Town Road versus now to this album. It's really different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm personally really loving how he's portraying himself here and how his whole album is basically just putting his sexuality like the center of his music and the center of his inspiration, and how he's not just gay and he is someone of darker complexion. I think that he's just kind of putting this music out in front of people and making them accept it no matter what, because it is one of the biggest hits. And the fact that he does that, even to people who can't accept him for who he is, people who listen to the radio or likes pop culture, they would have to accept it. Like, they would have to acknowledge this piece of information. And the fact that it is getting more and more popular in the pop culture, they would have to accept for whatever it is.
Right, right.
And it also really gives a place to people like Lil Nas X in the world, for them to feel a part of this pop culture.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good way for people to be fed in a way, because some people are just because some people will never, be exposed to this type of culture or message.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it is just like feeding it to people that they
Mm-hmm.
have to look at it.
Mm-hmm. And one of the songs, Sun Goes Down, it is towards the end of the album. He sort of writes this song as a letter to support his old self, where, he is closeted and can't show who he is, who he truly is to the world. And this gives kids, like, in this age, who are also closeted, a place to feel safe and feel like there are people like them, and they shouldn't feel ashamed to be whoever they are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this is just one of the low points within this album. And there's even this lyrics that says, "But there's much more to life than dying." And it just shows that his past self has been depressed and trying to suppress his feelings, but there is much more than dying.
Mm-hmm.
And see what he's doing now.
Yeah, and I think the lyrics is very, very specific.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is very explicit, and it's just like he's talking about his own story, his depression, and his overall just like struggles with his own identity.
Mm-hmm. And a song really closely related to this, also a low point of the album, the song Void.
Mm-hmm.
There's this part where he kind of confesses that he'd rather die than to live with these feelings, stuck in this world where there's so much to prove. And I think it is very true for who he is, and that he really has to prove everything that he knows and his talents, his abilities to people in order to get the status that he's supposed to have today.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is showing so much of himself within this album and confessing so much of his feelings and his vulnerability, it really allows the audience to become more invested to him as a person than rather a celebrity that we look up to. Like, we could feel what he feels. We could find connections to his feelings and feel that we're going through the same thing. And he wouldn't be someone that we just think is perfect, or someone that is just up there and we cannot reach him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's one of the characteristics of these pop stars these days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just like what I feel like, but I feel like they're trying to be more relatable and
Mm-hmm.
they are trying to be more vulnerable than pop stars from before. They are just trying to be showing more of their own story and they're not afraid that people are seeing them as human.
Mm-hmm. And I do like the fact that he is also showing himself as a human being. After the break, we will go further into some of his tracks and we'll look deeper into it.
Welcome back. Now we're going to look at more tracks on Montero.
Another track called One of Me. When I first heard this song, I didn't look at the lyrics, right? I just really wanted to feel what the artist is trying to show through its, melody and the whole beat and stuff. And I think that I really mistaken the meaning of this song before looking at the lyrics because I realized that this song is actually trying to embody the voices of his most vicious critics. And it's kind of, criticizing his work. The lyrics is criticizing his work and it's through his voice. And it's kind of like the demons in his own head. And the fact that he had to go through a lot of criticism to get to where he is today.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I did not get this. I just liked the melody. But I like the fact that this song has such deep meaning and it shows how he was really hurt and how he had to undergo all these terrible words from critics to get to where he is today.
Mm-hmm. Right, and again, I feel like it is talking about the vulnerability and the struggles that he has gone through.
Right. And this other song called Tales of Dominica, it shows that he grew up in a broken home. And this one really connects to his other song called Dead Right Now.
Yeah, I remember that one. I think this song is definitely a highlight of this album because of how memorable it is. After I listened to the whole album, this is one of the songs that I remember the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's one of those more upbeat songs. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say people would like it more generally.
Yeah, I do like this song. Right. And even though it is upbeat, the meaning within this song is actually also pretty negative. And it is actually quite cool how the fact that half of this album is pretty upbeat, yet it is portraying such a realistic part of his whole growing up process and the process of him truly showing who he is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this album is just a great turning point to his career, and I just appreciate that he's able to make it into such an attractive album.
Well, I think my personal favorite song on this album is the last song, which is a collaboration between him and Miley Cyrus, I believe.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Well, the reason I like this one the most is because this song is comparatively more melodic to other songs on this album. And just how, Miley Cyrus was in there. And, I liked Miley Cyrus's works, her albums. They're pretty great. And I didn't really look into the lyrics, but I think for me, the melody is what makes me think that it's the one that I like the most.
I agree. It is it has a melody that is quite different from the other tracks.
Yeah, because personally, I'm not a huge rap person. I don't listen to a lot of rap music. So when Isabella was saying that we can do this album, I was like, yeah, but I don't really understand rap music. So yeah, I don't really know what to talk about because I'm not familiar with it.
Mhm.
And I really like this album, just like because it's not what I remembered what rap music is like. Not to put, this in a box, but just like this is not what I remember what it's like. There's
Mhm.
definitely more melodic parts to it,
Mhm.
and I think most of the melodic parts are pretty good. They're memorable, and there are a lot of collabs on this album.
Mhm.
And I really like Megan Thee Stallion. Her
Mhm.
voice is very recognizable,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's just very upbeat and exciting.
Mhm. And I also actually like the fact that Elton John was able to join this album too.
That was definitely one of the surprise for me because I was
Mhm.
like, Elton John
I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
feels like a different genre.
I guess this album really brings out like a new aspect of what pop music could be.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that his lyrics are so straightforward, depicting how he grew up, what he went through, and the way that he marketed his album, I've got to say it's quite impressive.
Definitely.
And yeah, and how his songs went viral on TikTok. Like the song That's What I Want. I really like that one. And his kind of like clickbaiting music videos really, yeah, that really shocked me too. And it's just overall a great album to listen to. Very exciting. And definitely listen to this album in the order as it is supposed to be, because or else you would just be basically missing the whole point of listening to the album.
And next week, we're going to talk about Melodrama by Lorde.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Remember to like, subscribe, and share our channel.
Also, comment down below if you have any thoughts. You could click on the bell to get notified when we upload a new video as well.
Thank you and bye.